been pulled. Okay, so we'll handle item 2 either next Tuesday or the following Monday. Public comment. Okay, hearing none. Our first item, Justice Center update, excuse me, with David Mendez and our test commissioning contract.
Good morning, David Mendez with Turner Townsend Erie. To report on the status of the construction project for the Justice Center. I was not here last week to update you, but we had the contractor and your facilities manager talk about the fireproofing issue that I've had. I only had a $15,000 rough order of magnitude cost to, and as I sent the email out to you, that has increased substantially based on additional inspections on the site and some conversations back and forth with the design team about solutions to fireproofing issues. So that was originally somewhere between $50,000 and $150,000. The contractor is still working on nailing down the pricing for those issues. We have one, for example, issue that's been resolved, and that's the elevator number 1 issue, and that's at $5,500 to resolve that issue, which is a relief. That was the 2 elevators are the expensive components to that fireproofing change, and so we're in the process of trying to nail down that elevator number 2. What that cost will be. So we've got solutions on all of them. We've run them past the city's inspector. He was very receptive to all of the solutions that were proposed. So I think we're on track to get this resolved for a less than anticipated cost. So we're looking somewhere under $100,000 at this point. So that's the update that I have for you on that. Are there any questions that you'd like to go over in particular? There's a lot of detail that was the subject of about a 3-hour meeting last Tuesday. So, but moving on, so I've got a proposal for your review on commissioning. I've budgeted $60,000 for the commissioning on this project. That's at $41,000. I just want you to know that there's some additional testing that will probably will certainly need to occur as well. That will be in addition to that, but we're going to do a flood test on the windows on the exterior of the building to make sure that we don't have any leakage. We're going to do some random testing rather than testing all the windows, which could run into some pretty significant costs, and it's really not that necessary. We're going to test just 5% of the windows on the building. Just that's where leaks can occur, and we want to make sure that we don't have that condition. Are any questions on that?
This is a standard procedure.
In Idaho, we don't have quite the energy code that Washington does, so this is a fraction of what we would do in a Washington situation. But these are all commissioning exercises that to make sure that the contractor's done their job properly and that we don't have leaks in systems, for instance, HVAC systems, so we don't have whistling noises. They'll check for all those things.
Best practice.
It is a best practice. It's not necessarily code required, but it's a good idea to do.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, anything else?
Nothing to report to you. I did not update your the report that I give you because I don't have any changes that are nailed down yet. As soon as I do, I will update you.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right, item 2's pulled, and item 3, Idaho Commission for the Blind Transportation Discussion. Jackie Stallings. You can just come right up to the table if you like, or the podium, whichever you're comfortable, and then just push that button so the light turns green.
Good morning, commissioners, and thank you. I feel like I was maybe put on here a little bit by accident.
Oh, okay.
So it's okay. So I emailed and asked because I was a little behind on the transportation discussion, and I've been caught up now. I've kind of looked back at all of your different meetings and things. but I just wanted to have like a brief conversation to kind of understand more fully where commissioners were coming from with the Kootenai County transportation issue. So I'm just going to take my 2 minutes here and briefly tell you guys, hi, my name is Jackie Stallings. I work for the Idaho Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired. We are a state agency, but don't worry, the Idaho Freedom Foundation gave us an A. We're small government. There's only 43 of us statewide that are full-time positions. I work as a vocational rehabilitation counselor for the Idaho Commission for the Blind. And my primary goal and job is to serve all over Region 1, which is Canada to Montana to Washington and then down south to about 10 said. And I work with any individual who's blind or visually impaired who has a desire to go to work. So for some people that means going to college and getting a professional career. For other people it may mean working as a Walmart stalker. It really is varied, just like for all people, for what job they might be looking for. But really our goal is to make people taxpayers instead of tax takers. And I just wanted to come and briefly kind of say, whenever we do a state needs assessment, which happens every 3 years in the state of Idaho, the number one thing that always comes up as a barrier to employment for our people is transportation. I am a full-time working mom. I have 5 kids. I have 2 master's degrees. I have an extremely normal life, but the lack of transportation availability in North Idaho can sometimes feel suffocating. Daily things like getting my son to wrestling this evening, getting my kids to doctor's appointments and things like that can feel overwhelming when for most people they can just jump into a vehicle and head over to where they need to go. And I'm really here on behalf of my constituents to just bring it to your attention that it is an issue for those of us that desperately want to work full time. We desperately want to have normal lives, but we need to be able to get where we want to go when we want to get there. I have done a lot of research in other communities that are similar size to Coeur d'Alene, things like Clarksville, Tennessee, Gainesville, Texas, who are just about the same size as Coeur d'Alene, and I have 10 I can give you, that all do transportation, and they all have different models, and I feel like there are other ways of doing it that maybe it could be done better than what we're doing it for not a lot more money. So I just had a couple of questions for clarity. We also do have an independent living older blinds program, just so you guys are aware, and we work with people to help them stay out of nursing homes and remain independent in their home. Our rehabilitation teacher is Tyler Queasty back there. He goes into people's homes, marks appliances, teaches them how to use their cell phones. He's kind of a saint, honestly, because he has the patience of a saint. To help people who are from Idaho who are going blind as older people remain independent, use their iPhones, and be able to still take care of themselves, make their coffee in the morning and things like that. So I feel like our agency does serve a really valuable purpose. I don't know if I have to wait for discussion, and I apologize if I'm doing this wrong, but I just had 2 questions for you guys. The first one is just for Bill. I noticed that you've commented a couple of times about that you really have a problem with transportation being covered as a service, just because it's not a state.
What? I'm sorry.
That you don't really want to be involved with transportation at all.
I didn't say that. I did not say that.
Okay.
I said what we're doing right now is extremely inefficient.
Okay. I just wondered, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I thought I had heard that at a meeting, so I apologize. But you do want to be involved with like infrastructure, like roads and that kind of thing, right?
Oh yeah, I mean that's
okay.
Yes.
And then the second question I had, and I feel like I should get into the table because I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot. I'm really not. But I wanted to understand the concerns that you guys have with us connecting to Spokane, like why. I'm picking up that everybody's really vehemently opposed to that. And I just wondered if anybody could give me insight, because I don't understand why people are afraid of it.
I don't want to have a lot of, I go downtown Spokane these days, and there's a lot of folks around the bus station and other public transportation stops that are pushing, grocery store carts and
Gotcha.
carrying sleeping bags, and I don't, especially with what we've got right now, which is free for the rider.
Right.
I don't want them coming on over to Coeur d'Alene for a day in the park.
Hang out here. Okay.
I don't want them.
Gotcha.
And I don't want it. No, it's not. It's not profitable. It's not even. What we have right now, I think, is really questionable in terms of how it's set up. And I think we've got a lot of I tried to ride the bus one time, didn't say who I was,
Right.
and it was a major problem. I had to go to a doctor to get a letter, and then I had to, I mean, it was just,
You mean to get on the paratransit services? Yeah.
you
Okay.
know, I mean, that doesn't help me at all.
Right.
And the time frame, if I don't mind waiting on the front end a couple hours and on the back end a couple hours, I
Right.
can actually make an appointment. And you know, that's not practical if you're employed.
Right.
So,
Okay. I appreciate that because I
yeah,
agree
it's
with
just
you.
not working for me.
If you're busy, it's really hard to work around the transportation system. I hear
and
you.
older people are busy. This is one of the things that irritates the crap out of me is that people think if you're over 65, you have nothing to do all day but wait for them to give you the nod.
Yeah. Well, you're not over 65 though, are you? Sometimes being visually impaired helps.
You got a lot of points.
No, that does give me a lot of insight. I really appreciate it because I mean, just from like my perspective, again, as an individual, I have a daughter that has multiple impairments that goes to Shriners Hospital all the time, and I have a lot of clients that could get really good jobs in Spokane if it was feasible for them to get into Spokane every day. And I have other clients that work here in Coeur d'Alene where the housing is really outpriced, where they could get a more affordable housing in Spokane, and so. I just think about that side of it and how it can build the economy when you can provide transportation over to the bigger city for medical appointments. We have a site restoration program where we provide eye-saving surgeries for people in Idaho. It's a state-funded program. If they don't have health insurance and they need cataract surgery, we can help pay for that so they can keep working and get their vision back. And a lot of those people need to go to Spokane Eye Clinic because they have special needs. And just the barriers that we see with how incredibly difficult. A cab over to Spokane Eye Clinic is $100 each way from here. And so I completely understand. And, I agree with you guys that there's some problems with our transportation system, but I just wanted to bring another perspective to the situation so that you guys would have an awareness of us. We're kind of a small group, but there's a lot that you would see a lot more of us if it was more feasible for us to get around. So I thank you guys for your time so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I have some brochures. Please spread the word that we exist. We have a lot of people,
Like to have,
that don't know. If you hear anybody that's visually impaired, maybe they say they're not going out of their house because they're afraid. We're the people to help relieve that fear.
yes,
So
I would like.
Yeah, we'll make sure that those get posted.
I don't know where. Should I just leave them?
Yep, leave them right there.
Okay. Thank you guys so
Thank
much.
you very much.
All right, item 4, disadvantaged business and Title VI requirements. Pat, would you lead us today?
Yeah, Pat Braden, Civil Deputy Prosecutor for the record. The person who was going to give the bulk of the presentation today called in sick. That would be Caitlin Smith in our office, who has, the bulk of the experience dealing with these two issues. We do cover both in our recently adopted procurement guide for federally funded projects, procurements. And just to give an overview, Title VI refers to one of the original provisions of the Civil Rights Act that simply says, no person in the United States shall, on the ground of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. And so that's one of the non-discrimination provisions that we have to go by. That's been also adopted at the state level. But we have for our federally funded procurements like transit, like we were just talking about a minute ago, the airport, our Homeland Security grants and other grants that we get through the OEM, for the OEM and Sheriff's Office, for example, all have to comply with that, and we have to have a plan that has to stay updated from time. We have to update from time to time. And I think that's one of the things Kat's working on. The other thing is what's known as DBE, Disadvantaged Business Enterprises. This is one of the ways the federal government helps programs achieve not discriminate against different businesses that are owned by either a member of a protected minority, woman-owned business, small business, or a business located in a labor surplus area. To the extent we can, we're encouraged to hire those in our projects, and typically they're subcontractors of the contractors that we do hire. Those contracts have language regarding hiring DBEs. Interestingly, there is no specific goal here because we don't have a great deal of minority population. Sometimes tribal enterprises will be able to subcontract for different things as subcontractors of a contract on a road project or whatever. But again, we need to have a plan. The Idaho Transportation Department actually runs the certification program for Idaho and also keeps a directory of qualified DBEs for state and local government use and for use of their contractors. And seeing if DBEs would be able to work as subcontractors and have the interest in doing so. So that's basically DBEs in Title VI in a nutshell. I'm not sure what more Kat was going to add, but we can certainly continue this discussion in the future if you'd like.
I think for me, the only thing I just wanted to make the board aware that we do have these requirements, and it's moving from the RMO, which doesn't exist anymore, to your office to get these things done. And airport would also be able to take advantage of this as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that was my main goal for this conversation. So any questions or thoughts on?
Yeah, and that's the advantage of having Kat move from her former position into our office, is she has that experience. So that will definitely help.
Okay. Questions?
No, this sounds like a formality.
Oh, you're next. There we go. Thank you.
Yeah, it sounds like a formality.
Yeah, it basically is, just like Commissioner Duncan said, to raise awareness among the board of these requirements, just as a reminder, really. And so those will be coming down the pipe from time to time.
Thank you. Okay. Item 5, grant of easement. And I put this on the agenda because we have something on the business meeting today that I'm not aware of. So I wanted to kind of talk about it and figure out where everybody is on this and how it got to the business meeting without a formal discussion in public.
Well, I put it on the business meeting. We've been talking about it. Clearly, some people's cheese was moved because it ruffled some feathers. But the reality is that, as a county commissioner, oftentimes problems, especially when it comes to property, ends up on my desk like it does with the other commissioners. And in this particular situation, it has to do with a piece of land that the county is not using that is nestled between a Forest Service trail and the property owner. And so the property owner had requested that they be granted an easement. They understand that they need to get permission from the Forest Service as well if they're going to use that trail. And so I talked with community development. I talked with the director of Parks and Waterways, and I talked with Pat in the civil division as to the feasibility of this. And it was agreed upon that there's no reason why we shouldn't grant the easement. It's one component to multiple components for getting all the easements. And so that's why it's here.
Okay. So on this particular property, they already own an adjoining parcel that they can get access to through that adjoining parcel. I am not going to approve any easement before we even hear from the National Park System. And the more we give easements over trails, then there becomes a conflict between the trail users and the people who are granted easements. So I don't think this is a proper place to grant an easement at this point when it's not a hardship. They are not completely landlocked because they own the property next door that has Highway 54 access. And that little portion of Kootenai County property, I mean, that's not a big deal if it wasn't connected to the trail. So having them have to drive on the trail then to get through Kootenai County's property to get to their property when they can come through 54 through their own property, I think makes more sense.
Well, they requested it, and that's why it's here. So I don't see it as much of an issue. Frankly, they should be, we should be selling that property and putting it back on the tax rolls. For some reason, we seem to own these little parcels that have absolutely zero public use, public value. And so this is just one step towards getting over there. I think we're doing research to see if we can even just sell the property.
And commissioners, it appears that we got it back in, I think, 2009 from the state, although the assessor's records say it's an unknown document, and I have not been able to locate that, but I suspect it's a remainder that was cut off from the property to the north of the trail at some point in that property's chain of title. But it was not acquired through tax deed, so I do believe we would be able to sell it on such terms as we may agree.
And I don't have a problem with that. And then it's not an easement problem through the county. That'd be an easement problem through the national parks.
Well, we still have that issue. So I just assume get it behind us, serve a constituent, and move on.
Yeah. Well, and also the grant of easement says for valuable consideration received. What is that? What are we receiving?
That is a good question. And I don't know if I can really answer that, to be honest.
And because the backup documentation was not received in time, and the way it was put in the system, it's not even validly noticed on today's business meeting. So at the beginning of the business meeting, I will recommend that one be pulled and put on a different meeting with more information.
The way that it's always been explained is that 3 days. Friday afternoon, by 2.
And that's not true. So it is actually Wednesday afternoon by 5 o'clock. However, when imminent circumstances come up, we can do it all the way till 12 o'clock on Friday. If it's something after 12 o'clock on Friday, then it really needs to be a huge, there has to be a legitimate reason why not to include it on the agenda. So to me, this is not time sensitive, and we shouldn't have added it to the agenda. But I was out, and so I just made a decision to put it on, even though it was not properly identified on the agenda, because it's just even that the way it was put here, grant of easement, well, that gives the public absolutely no idea what we're talking about. So somebody who lives near the Farragut Trail or uses the Farragut Trail may have wanted to come here and comment on this proposal.
I think we've got a lot of properties, these orphan properties all over the county. And I think the only time we do anything about it is when somebody jabbed us in the butt with a sharp stick. And we go, oh. And then it becomes a one-off type of situation, and those are never good. I happen to know this situation. I know the people involved. I have no problem granting this.
So I'm happy to entertain a bid if they want to submit a sealed bid to the county for that property. That would be a great option.
I guess the only question is with respect to this document, Pat, it does say for valuable consideration received. Typically in situations like that, you can offer $10, and that would be satisfactory. So is that something that would meet the requirements? And are there some sort of public notice requirements that we have not followed at this point when the meeting was noticed on Friday that is going to be an issue?
Let me look at the agenda for this afternoon real quick. As long as it was posted at least 40 hours in advance, that requirement.
Yeah,
would be
the
met.
problem is not with the posting, the problem is the vagueness with the item. It's the last item on the agenda.
Yeah, there should have, I would agree, there should have been more information there. There typically is, like the parcel number AIN.
And again, I'm not sure what the time-sensitive nature is. And I would disagree. We get sealed bids from time to time. It's not, we don't need any sharp stick. It's just when people identify the property that would benefit them and their contiguous owners, then they have submitted sealed bids.
Look,
I would suggest we table that till next week, just if for no other reason than to clear up the notice issue. Then we, then of course the board can discuss what they want to do, grant the easement or, put it up for bid. Or
Well-
any other options.
well, to avoid potential issues after the fact, I'm fine if we do the proper noticing of this so that it's dealt with once and we're done with it. But as far as the other stuff, the consideration, that would be the remedy, I think, for your language. And that way, it addresses it.
Yeah,
And
and
frankly,
I would
we
just-
should,
Sorry, I would just amend the easement document to say for $10 on other valuable consideration.
that's fine. And then the other side to this is that we probably should start going through these properties and being proactive about this. There's no point in waiting. No one has said anything about this particular
And-
property except for the property owner themselves. And
Nancy Pluff was doing that. She actually was calling up contiguous property owners for the tax deeded parcels.
yeah, well, the problem with that is that it's the board's responsibility. It's not Nancy Pluff's responsibility. These people come and go. So when the board allows these things to fall because someone has left, it's the board's responsibility.
I would disagree that the board comes and goes and that the people working here stay. So when she left, this project just was never assigned to anyone else.
These people report to the board. It's at the board's direction.
Yeah, and the board did not direct anyone else to pick up this project.
Well, I would argue that we need to start doing that.
Okay, that's fine. Identify the proper person, and we can talk about workload and job descriptions and get it done. So with that, I would call for public comment. Okay, hearing none, 10:28, meeting adjourned.